Welcome to Getting Aligned, a human design podcast where we dive into the endless journey of self-discovery using human design. This podcast is created for individuals who want to know how human design can assist them on the road towards self-awareness, healing, and personal growth by uncovering the unique blueprint that shapes each of us. From practical insights to profound revelations, Getting Aligned will be your companion on this transformative journey as we collectively step into our purpose. Whether you're new to human design or a seasoned explorer, there's something here for everyone. So, grab your favorite beverage, settle into something comfortable, and let's embark on this adventurous journey of self-discovery together. It's time that we all rediscover who we were born to be. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. This episode is from my archives. This episode was recorded 2 years ago with the lovely Mouhtis, and I just wanted to bring this episode right back into your feed, whether you've heard it before or you're listening for the first time. This episode is truly magical, truly powerful, and there's something in it for everyone. And I really hope that you find some empowerment in this episode. Enjoy. So, Michelle, I am so excited to have you on as my guest. I am just ready to hit the ball rolling. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling so good. Thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor.
And thank you for making space and time for us to record. I want to start us off with a grounding exercise to sort of get us in the moment, joyful, and it'll kick us off into our topic for today.
Perfect. Sounds amazing.
All right. So allowing yourself to get settled in a comfortable position, yet attentive. And comfortable is whatever it means for you. You could begin to close your eyes or lower them or focus on a center in your space, whichever you prefer. And as you sit here, focus your mind's eye on your breath. Noticing your breathing as it comes in. Noticing the pause in between and the exhale. Notice the cool sensation as the air comes in and the warm sensation as the air leaves your body. And if your mind wanders, remember that is okay. That is a part of the practice. I invite you to hold up your hands as if you were playing or holding a flute. Begin to pucker your lips, and on your next exhale, blow out as if you were blowing through a straw. Imagine moving your fingers as you play over the imaginary holes of the flute. With each exhale, you are blowing out as if through a straw. And relax. Being interpersonally skillful is hard. There are so many reasons why we may not be effective in managing relationships. When we lack skills, we don't know what to say or how to act. That makes it hard to interact with others in order to achieve our goals. But one might wonder, what makes it difficult to engage in these skills? Is it lack of availability or is it lack of motivation? You see, lack of ability to interact with others is very different from our lack of motivation to try. We learn by observing, practicing, and fine-tuning. Just because we were able to play our imaginary flute, ask yourself, does this mean we can now play the flute? The same can be said for sports, public speaking, solving problems, and most importantly, interpersonal skills. Without the opportunity to learn, we cannot practice. Without practice, we cannot fine-tune. Without fine-tuning, we cannot build mastery over communication. And now wiggling your fingers and toes and sort of falling off your body as if you are coming out of a tundra. I invite you to bring your awareness back into the room, back into our shared space. What was this exercise like for you? What did it bring up for you?
My marching band days.
Yes.
Half joking.
I love it.
No, I feel like a lot of times I think I'm like such a master at breath work. And then when we bring it back to like the simple things, like as if we're playing an instrument, my heart, like, no, there's always room to grow. And it really just brought me back to like the way we are supposed to breathe. Um, and also the way you phrased that it really is meditation's a practice, life is a practice.
It is.
And practice means that we screw it up sometimes, and that is okay.
It is.
So thank you for all the permission. I feel like that the biggest takeaway from that exercise was permission. Permission to screw it up, permission to be okay, permission to be exactly where you are right now, knowing it's not where you're staying.
I love it. I love it. And so, Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Who are you?
Thank you so much. My name is Michelle Mouhtis. I am a relationship coach and a licensed therapist, and I help high achieving millennials throughout the entire love spectrum from breakup to being single and finding soul level love, all the way through being in aligned partnership and deepening the connection that you have with your partner. And I do that through one-on-one coaching, group programming, online courses, and masterclasses. And I have been a coach now for about 2-3 years or so.
Yes.
And it has been given me so much flexibility to be able to also incorporate somatic techniques. So I absolutely love mind body practices. I love energy psychology, breath work, EFT tapping. And it's just such a gift to be able to really bring my clinical background as a therapist to my work with my clients, as well as pull from some of these other Stern like EFT tapping and energy psychology.
And can you tell us a little bit about the difference between what it was like for you as a as a coach and a therapist, right? And I think that's a really important conversation that we're beginning to have in this field. If you can share a little bit about that backstory of how you came to become a relationship coach.
Absolutely. I would love to speak on this. So I found, and I didn't realize it at the time until I started awakening to it, therapy is quite restrictive.
Yes,
Insurance companies love to put us in boxes. They want
absolutely.
us to do quick interventions with clients, like quick CBT. And it is very disordered based. So there's a
Yes,
lot of, I mean, we have to. So I don't know if people who aren't therapists know this, but on a first session, a therapist has to label you with a diagnosis. Whether you're
absolutely.
going out of network or in network, it doesn't matter. We have
No,
to put a diagnosis.
yes.
And to me, just that thought of I have to label you after knowing you for an hour, I have to label you with a disorder after an
Yes.
hour of knowing you feels awful. It
It,
feels so unjust.
yes.
And it also discounts, and I'm so thankful. It seems like the therapy industry is moving in this direction. Hallelujah.
Yes.
But I truly believe that every disorder in that DSM-5 stems from trauma, whether it's
Yes.
been inherited, whether it's been your own personal experience, whether you've been parented by someone who has
Yes.
been through trauma in their life and they're parenting you from that place, it
Yes.
all stems from trauma. So, why are we labeling
So
people
many
who
different
have gone
things.
through trauma as disordered? That was
Yes.
probably my biggest motivating factor for wanting to exit my way out of the therapy space because it
Yes.
wasn't trauma informed. Now it is
Oh.
moving in this sort of direction. I'm very thankful for it, but there still are powers that be that
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel are changing in any sort of immediate future. Like I think
Oh.
the DSM-5 is here to stay, or some version of the DSM,
Just
whatever is
came out like DSM-5 TR. I'm like another book that we have to,
another book.
right? Like another one that we have to purchase, right? And invest in, which just goes against, again, like when we're out here, we are literally meeting, like you said, meeting someone for an hour, and I have to put a code together that makes sense within an hour, right? And so you looked at this and you said, this isn't for me. You said, I actually want to start to do relationship coaching.
Yep, absolutely. I specialized in my therapy practice in substance abuse, which led me to specialize in forensics because many people who use substances get arrested and
Absolutely.
go to jail.
Absolutely.
And the intersection of those two pieces were trauma.
In the middle, right? Like it's the thing. It's everything.
It is the glue. It's the thing. It is
The glue.
the
I love it.
it's the common
The
denominator,
glue.
right? So I set out with this desire to specialize in substance abuse, and it led me to trauma, which led me to how people are being raised. It led me to we don't know how to be in relationship. We don't know how to be in relationship with ourselves. We don't A lot of people don't even know what that means. I
Mm.
certainly didn't. Even, when I was in therapy school, I didn't know what it meant to have a relationship with myself.
No.
And therefore, people don't know how to be in relationships, romantic, colleague, friendship, familial, with others. I truly believe with all my heart and all my soul that the quality of our relationships determines the happiness of our lives.
Ooh, say that again.
Oh, the quality of our relationships determine the happiness of our lives. And when I say relationships, I don't just mean romantic, I mean personal.
Yes.
I mean the one with yourself. I mean the one with your friends. I mean the one with your family, your colleagues, relationship to social media, relationship to everything and everyone. And this is a lifelong journey.
It
It's
is.
absolutely a lifelong journey. But I feel the more we can work on this, bring awareness to it, heal in relationship, the
Yes.
more we can be happy in this lifetime. And isn't that the goal of
Yes.
this life, is just to be
It
happy?
is. Can I ask why millennials in this specific age group? Because I have my own thoughts on how special millennials are, and I just want to know you from your perspective as that millennial therapist. What stood out about millennials in particular?
Absolutely. I've always really strongly identified with being a millennial. We've been through a lot, starting
We
with
have.
9/11 in our childhood, through the Great Recession, through the coronavirus. I mean, I think it's really underestimated how much we have
Absolutely.
truly been through in our lifetime and what we've seen in our lifetime.
Yes.
And what led me to be that millennial therapist and really have this desire to work with millennials is when I entered the workspace. I entered private practice at a very young age, and my clients at first were very skeptical of me because of my age.
Yes.
I was entering a profession that I didn't realize until I realized it, that was heavily based, this correlation between your age and your knowledge and your expertise.
Woo! Hold on. Woo!
Do we not look at someone who's a therapist or any other profession for that matter and assume that just because they're older that they know more, that they're more experienced?
I have seen the most experienced professionals do the most damage going to clients' houses, meeting up with them for coffee. But because I'm the young new, well, we can have a whole conversation, but continue.
It's a sermon. I noticed that this was happening to other millennials as well. And when I started coaching, I was really going more in like a life coaching direction. And then I pulled it
Yes.
into relationships because I still felt like that was the common denominator with everything. But I became that millennial therapist because I was so insecure about being a millennial. I was so insecure about people judging me because I was young and for my age at the time. So I decided to take my biggest insecurity and make it my whole entire brand. Yes.
Goosebumps. Like,
Yes. And by owning the absolute shit out of who I am, owning my age, it inspired me to bring that out of everyone else, especially
yes.
millennials.
Yes. Thank you. Michelle, how did we come to connect?
We came to connect. I felt drawn to you, JW, in a therapist working Facebook group. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. This was 2020.
Yes.
2020.
And we didn't really connect with each other until recently. There's something that was, I think I saw, because I've been following you, and I saw you were doing human design, and I was looking for someone to come to my women's group, my coaching women's group, and do human design reading. So I just felt this, urge to reach out to you, and I'm so thankful that I did, because our meeting was like completely divine, even though it was recently, and we first connected 2 years ago. I just felt, I don't know what it was about you. I just felt so, first of all, I think I was shocked to see a man.
Factual. A male therapist, one.
A male therapist, one. A black male therapist, two.
A black male therapist, two. And then a black male therapist talking about human design.
What? A unicorn. I'm like, I need to connect with this human being.
And we connected, literally, you said to me, and you want to share your experience on human design, your type, you said to me, I'm a, and what, just go.
Still, I would love to learn more from you, because I am still learning about being a projector and what it means to be a projector. But just from the little research I've done so far, it makes so much sense.
Yes.
I hated school, hated school.
100%. I felt like an alien, weird,
totally.
Bouncing around from place to place. I want to talk to this person. I want to make friends with this person. Hey, over there, I know you're quiet, but what's up? Let's be friends. And everyone's like, can you sit the heck down? Go to detention. Go to in-school suspension because you're too wild. And I'm like, this is boring.
Totally relate my detention, because I was so hyper fixated on not getting in trouble. I would just hold it all in, and I was the quiet kid in the corner, but all I wanted to do was boop 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 chit chat with all my little friends.
If you and I were in school, I would have been the one to getting you in trouble. I would have been like, let's talk.
The teacher's gonna notice, right? So and it also made so much sense that I need so much downtime. But when I feel recharged from that downtime, it's on. I'm in hyper focus. I could get a week's worth of work in like done in 4 hours. Like it's
Yes.
on. And then I'm done.
And then done again, shutting down,
And
and
then
then
I
living
need
back
more
up.
downtime.
And
Yes.
so, for those of you who do not know, go back to my previous episode on human design types and what projector type is. And yes, there is, one of the most powerful things for me, Michelle, was when we both literally said it without saying it, of like, I see you. Nothing lights a projector more than being seen, because many projectors that I've known, I've done so many readings. I've done a couple of readings where I've seen projectors and I'm like, what was the thing you feared in life? Being unseen. And I'm like, oh. And so when you have two people here who are projectors, literally lit up just by seeing one another and being supportive of one another. And then it just goes back to finding love as a projector. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But Michelle, if you will, I will invite you to amplify your voice and share your story, your journey of becoming who you are today.
Oh, thank you. I would love to. So I have always been a hopeless romantic. I have always found myself daydreaming about love and romance. And starting at age 15, I found myself in back-to-back relationships until age 26. I had about 9 months total of time that I was single from age 15 to age 26. It was insane. And some of those relationships included an engagement. I was engaged to my college sweetheart and I broke that off. And I also had a live-in partner. We lived together for about 5 months. So long-term, intense relationships. And it wasn't until my most recent breakup with my live-in partner that I realized I had this huge awakening, because I was so unhappy, so unhappy. I was so miserable. And I realized I don't know who I am at all, because I have been molding myself to be chosen, to be seen, to be in connection, to be in relationship. And I was getting my self-worth and my sense of self from being in relationships. And I would become whatever they wanted me to be. And that worked in the beginning. And then I got tired of it and I became resentful and I stayed in the relationship anyway. And so during my breakup, when I was 26, I had a huge awakening that I'm the problem. It's me. Up until this point, I'm pointing fingers at everyone else.
Yes.
Now I'm like, oh my gosh, no, it's me. I'm the toxic one. I'm the problem.
Healthy. I say it in all my interactions with people. We have to take a healthy level of accountability.
Yes.
A healthy level of accountability, because sometimes when it's you, not in a harsh way.
No.
Not in a blaming way, but hopefully in an enlightening way, a door opening way.
An empowering way. Yes. An empowering way that no, you are not a victim to yourself and your circumstances, that you can change at any moment's notice if you so desire. And if you so have awareness to it. Absolutely. So that's exactly what was starting to happen when I was 26. So I made this commitment to being single. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, because I just wanted to jump in a relationship. And I learned how to be on my own. I did everything from putting IKEA furniture by myself together to fixing my toilet by myself and going on YouTube, like all things I would ask my partner to help me do or do for me.
Yes.
And it sounds so silly, but I started building my self-confidence and my identity and my sense of worth by being and doing things alone.
Yes.
And it made me realize that I don't need to be in partnership. I desire to be in partnership. Yes. And I created this life that was authentic to me, that I love to live, through trial and error, of course. Like I love doing new things. I would just go out and do things, try it. If I didn't like it, okay, I'd never do it again.
Yes,
And
trial and error. Trying on, like I said to someone, trying on shoes, right? Like things can be
yes,
like trying on shoes. You don't just go into the store and you see these new shoes and you're like, let me pick the first pair and walk out, right? You try, it's trial and error. It fits, it doesn't fit. It's comfortable, it's uncomfortable.
absolutely. And that's the fun of it. That's where you get to play and have fun doing this work. Like the work, quote unquote, doesn't have to be so serious all the time. Where can it be fun? So that's where I began my relentless relationship research and had all these experiences. And I took everything that I learned, combination of therapy school, my own post-grad work on relationships, and my own experiences, and I started incorporating it into programs, masterclasses, online courses as part of that Millennial therapist. And that's how I got here. And of course, along the way, I found my own soul level love. I'm engaged to my fiance. Andrew is
amazing. I love following your energy. I love seeing you both interact with each other. I love seeing you both challenge each other, and like even your engagements of like, who built it better? And I like it just, it's this playful innocence. It's the way healing looks.
Totally. We heal in relationships.
That's that part. This isn't and I stress for people, you don't have to heal. Like there is no or. There is no, I'm going to only do this when I'm my best version of me, right? Because that's going to change too.
Totally. And bringing it back to the meditation that we opened with. When you said, imagine you're playing the flute, did you know studies have showed that when you practice in your mind, it is as if you are practicing in real life. There is no difference. There was a study done, very high quality study done with piano.
Yes.
And when I was single, what I did, because I had to totally redefine what I knew and thought relationships to be from my past experience, from the way I was raised, to the romantic relationships I was in, to even my friendships, I had to totally redefine it.
Yes.
And I redefined it in my mind. Even though I had never experienced what it was like to be in a truly compatible, healthy, romantic relationship, I knew what it felt like in my mind.
Yes.
And
it's role rehearsal.
Yes.
It's a role rehearsal.
Yes. I entered relationship with myself. And because when you have that practice in your mind, you're not only are you able to call it in, but already know what it's like to be in that relationship. You have to believe it's possible. And belief alone can draw it in.
There was a question you asked about human design, and this part where it's like, and I think a lot of people can relate. If you find out you're a projector, it's meant, you have to wait for the invitation. And everyone's like, what does that mean? And does that mean I'm to do nothing? Right? And no, that is not at all what a projector is here to do, or any type, right? A projector is here to wait for the invitation. And what that means is while you are waiting for the right people to see you, the right opportunities to find you, you hone your gifts. You focus on what lights you up. So when I'm overwhelmed and stressed out and I feel like I'm stuck, I will say, let me go back to studying human design. Let me go back to tapping into what my strategy and authority is. And invitations come, right? So when you took a step back and you said, let me do my role rehearsal, let me do my mental rehearsals on what I want a relationship, you were following your strategy and your authority.
Without even knowing it.
Without even knowing it.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't it crazy? They say projectors are really powerful, and I keep forgetting until I talk to another projector, and I'm like, damn, we're really all out here living in such a similar way without really knowing. Half of us, I just got into human design, so it's like half of us are still not aware that this is literally how we're built to practice our gifts while the rest of the work comes to us.
Absolutely. And I think the hardest part is being in the heat, that place in between
that part,
the thing you want and having it.
I am like if you see me, like I always say I'm throwing punches to the universe because I'm like, come on, where are you? Like, let's do this. And it's like, because that is what sort of that conditioning of the world. The world around us tells us you have to be a go-getter. You have to go, 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 go,
Hustle.
go. You can't sit down. And I'll say that's where the Millennial group comes in. Because I remember those messages of you need to hustle and bustle. You need to go out there and find someone. Right. And then it's like every time I go out there and I try to push myself into a relationship or a situationship with someone, it doesn't work. Because that's not my type. I'm here to allow people to see me, and the right person will see me. And the wrong people will overlook me, and that's okay. That saves my energy for something else.
And I love that distinction that you just made, JW, because I feel like we have to name this. Like, being a projector doesn't mean you like sit in this closet with your hands out waiting, doing absolutely nothing.
That does not work. That is not.
No, that's not what we're talking about, right?
No,
like not like sitting on the couch and playing video games 24/7 and waiting for the job to come. Like,
it'll come to me when I'm just gonna sit here and play this video game for 24 hours and then the job will come to me. That's not how it works.
It's not how it works. So I love that you said it's fine-tuning and playing with your gifts.
Yes.
And mastering your gifts and working on your gifts while you wait.
Yes.
And I feel like what a redirection, because I don't know about you, but there are times when I'm like, okay, universe, where's the thing I asked for?
I'm like, universe, listen, I thought we had a deal, right? I was going to start to focus on, human design, and I was going to have it up and running. And like, I thought everything else would come. And it's crazy because I just went through this. Like in real time, I reminded myself, I was in a business community and I'm the only projector in that community. We just so happened we all took our human design test and I'm the only projector. And I'm around energy types that are go-getters. And I'm like, I need to have my proposals done too. And then it was when I took the human design test, like midway through the program, I was like, actually, I'm not going to do anything everyone else is doing. I was literally like the oddball, just sitting back, like, because it'll come. And then slowly and surely, I'm writing the names of my thing. I want to do somatic, human design. Everyone's like, human design. I'm like, oh, because it was right in front of me, but I couldn't see it. Projectors cannot see for themselves. So I had to make that distinction. This is why it's always amazing to have other projector friends who will see you, because we can't see for ourselves. That's not our gift. But while I was waiting, I was like, all right, I just wrote my affirmations. And if you heard my first episode, I talked about my affirmation wall. I am a public speaker. I have my podcast. I'm an adjunct professor. I deserve a premium fee. And within 8 days, since I started doing this meditation, within 8 days, $10,000 has come into my pocket within 8 days through way of business opportunity, because I waited for the invitation. They said, can you leap? I said, right now. I'm ready.
My heart. It's just such a testament. It's such a testament that your desire is inevitable. The things that you want are inevitable, as long as while you are waiting, you're honing in on your gifts.
Yes. Yes.
It's inevitable.
If you like cooking, make new recipes. If you like studying the child development, figure out the newest principles and strategies that they're out there that are helping children. If you are looking for love, find an amazing relationship coach to help you do that. Hone what you want, because when it comes to you, if you are not ready, you might not get that opportunity again.
Absolutely.
In the same way that it presented itself. That was one thing I learned and I looked at your human design chart of having that splenic gift, is literally when something comes to us with spleen authority, in that moment, unlike other types, in that moment, we automatically know if it's for us or not. That is the power of the spleen authority.
Can you, what is that? What's spleen? What?
Yes. So you and I share literally the same two channels. I mean, the same two centers. So it's a whole thing. Go back to that episode about centers. The whole thing about us sharing literally the same two centers is our primary center is the spleen center. And so the spleen center is about gut immediate instinct. And so when someone offers us something, if we are in alignment, if we're doing our best, if we're following our strategy and our authority, if we're taking care of ourselves, resting, recharging, right? Just like when we don't want to work 18 hours a day, but if we're literally resting and doing what we're supposed to do to protect our bodies, to protect our mind, when someone offers us something, we will know in that moment whether it's for us. Someone might say, hey, I want to ask you out on a date. You'll know if that's for you. If someone says, I want to marry you, you'll know if it's for you because you're following your unique design.
I love that. And what awareness to your body and your heart, I feel like that must take. I'm thinking back to a time when I was so disconnected from myself, and that can be hard, really hard.
Yes, absolutely. Because I tell people, it's like when I'm not following, and now that I know, it's interesting that when I ended up in a hospital, like the same areas of my body that could save my life was also my strategy. Your liver and your spleen work almost like in tandem in terms of immunity. And it was crazy to find out that that my liver and that it's all in the same region of my body. And I was like,
oh my gosh, not a coincidence.
Not a coincidence. I'm like, literally the same area of my body that almost failed is literally where my strategy and my authority sit.
That's a whole sermon.
And I almost lost it because I wasn't listening to it until I told them to get me to another hospital, right? And then I was released within 2 days, right? So it's literally this body awareness of like, now I say when I'm around unhealthy energy, unhealed people, it's like someone's doing body shots, like boom, like literally punching. And I'm like, oh my God, my spleen center is like on fire. And as I say it in my head, I'm like, this isn't for me. I gotta get out. It's gotten to the point, Michelle, now I don't even allow a second punch to come. I'm like, time to go. Bye. Exit.
I love it. Can you speak more to that process? Like how do you think that you can tell the difference between a true gut instinct and a trauma response and a fight or flight?
Such an amazing thing to ask. With what I learned about human design is we are built literally the way we're supposed to be. And that our lived experiences shape us to be how we're meant to be. So yes, I was a projector and I was born a projector. My trauma actually helped me to learn to trust my gut instinct. So when I get the cue to fight, I actually know that's actually my spleen center saying, get fight. When it says walk away, I know my spleen's like, just walk away. I'm learning that there's literally no difference now for me because I've done that healing process of really understanding the fight or flight system to now knowing when I'm in a dangerous situation, go. Now it's when people say, oh, do you want to show up to this place? And I'm like, thinking, I'm like, what type of people are going to be there? What energy is going to, I'm like, nope, no, thank you.
Would you say it was a bit of trial and error?
Oh, yes.
Figuring that out. It was
trial and error because the trauma responses, and I was literally saying this in a podcast interview that I was recently on, is when you experience trauma, your alarm systems flip upside down. What's safe feels unsafe because you've went through so much unsafety that we had to sort of create as like, this is safe, right? This person that I know is going to hurt me later, they're safe because we had to like recondition ourselves so that we could survive, right?
Because it's familiar.
So we flipped our alarms upside, or rather our body flips it upside down. But I had to do a lot of reflipping. So I don't want anyone to think like, oh, I've been through a lot of stuff. I've never healed. My alarm systems are solid. My instinct is right. You have to reflip your alarm systems. You have to go through trauma work. you have to see a trauma professional. There's a lot of people out here that are saying they heal trauma and they are not licensed professionals. That is not okay. Please seek a licensed mental health professional for trauma work.
Who has done postgraduate work in trauma.
Say that again.
Who has done postgraduate work in trauma. Please do not hesitate to ask them. Someone who really has will welcome the question, will tell you exactly what they've done and why they're qualified. And someone maybe who hasn't will be like,
why are you asking me that?
Why are you asking me that? Yes.
Leave. Leave.
Yes.
But to that point, in order to do that healing work, right, I had to actually go to trauma therapy. I did EMDR for a year. I also am in an SE program, and so you have to do somatic experiencing work as a part of the training program, right? So I had to learn to flip my alarms back to the way they're meant to be. Because the same people that used to flirt with me, that used to try to bring themselves into my space, are the same people when I get around them, I'm like, back away. But when my alarms were upside down, I was like, yes, I will give you whatever you want.
And
because that's what was conditioned from trauma, to give people whatever they want.
And this is why the beginnings of flipping that alarm can be really challenging, because it takes so much awareness to take an action and hold a belief that's so different from what you've been used to your whole life. I always say your first healthy relationship after coming out of a string of unhealthy ones is difficult and challenging in the beginning, just because you're changing. But that's where the healing opportunity is. Because when you're with someone who is healthy, or you're in a situation that's healthy, maybe that's a work environment, right? It could be a friendship. It could be anything.
Any relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic relationships, everybody. It doesn't have to be the first relationship we're talking about. Does not have to be a romantic one.
Absolutely. Could be any relationship. But that first healthy experience will support that change. And you will be convinced through a new experience.
As we continue to talk about the healing process, right? What does healing look like? What is for you, like, what does healing mean to Michelle?
To Michelle, healing means holding so much duality. Duality meaning that two opposing and conflicting feelings and experiences are both true all in the same time and all in the same space. This was one of the biggest things I feel like I contended with as I was on my healing journey, because I was enlightened and excited and feeling like I was coming home to myself, while I was also distraught and getting a new perspective on relationships and situations. And I'm like, what? That's how that really is? Totally blind to it. And there was sadness in that, and there was depression in that. And I had to grieve that perspective that I held of putting certain people and situations on pedestals. And now that the pedestal's been knocked off, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not how it really is. But in the same duality, in the same space, the joy and the relief of being able to come home to myself, of being energized. I didn't realize how tired I was. Like physically tired and exhausted. I went to the doctor for it, and it was because I was living a life that wasn't in alignment.
Like, you end up in the doctors trying to find out. This is literally why I keep bringing in somatic knowledge, because we're finding ourselves in the doctor's office. We're finding ourselves in the doctor's office trying to understand what's happening when there is no answer. That is where I talk about the importance of the somatic healing, right? It's like I'm constantly finding myself in a doctor's office, like something's hurting, and the doctor's like, I don't see anything. That does not always mean the doctor is thinking you're lying. It just might mean there's something more on the mental side of things that need to be addressed. I've had mouth issues. I'm like constantly having jaw issues, and I'm like, what are you not saying, James?
Woof.
When I start to feel stuff in my body, the first thing I start to say is, what are you not saying? What energy are you still going around? Are you not setting boundaries? Like I'm doing literally a mental checklist before I decide to go to an ER. Because sometimes it is more mental than it is physical.
Absolutely. And it is easier to rule out physical. So please go to the doctor.
Yes. Yeah, it very much exactly like a full checkup, blood work, nothing, your liver enzymes, your numbers are fine, right?
Right. But if everything is okay, exactly what you said. I went to the doctor. I'm like, please check my thyroid. I'm exhausted every single day. There has to be something wrong with me. No, I was just miserable. Being miserable is exhausting. Not being happy is exhausting. And it doesn't mean being happy every minute of every day, but it does mean finding the joy in every day. The mind-body connection is so deep. It's so real. It's so powerful. And it's not to say that like, oh, if you don't move through anger, like you're destined to get XYZ ailment, you brought this on yourself. Like, not that sort of punishing thing.
No.
But there's a huge difference between holding a grudge and never wanting to move through a trauma, or never wanting to move through a feeling, and on the journey to moving through that feeling and through that trauma. Huge difference.
Such a difference. Such a difference.
So as you're healing, you may feel like anger. And I don't want you to think that like, oh, I'm angry, that's lowering my vibration and I'm going to be sick and this and that. No, you're releasing.
You are releasing. Every emotion is literally here to give you a message. Every emotion we experience is here to give you a message. It is not meant to be numbed. Brene Brown said it beautifully. We cannot selectively numb our emotions. You can't say, I don't want to feel these things. I only want to, because when you numb one, you numb them all. Yes. That was like the first TED Talk I ever saw, by the way. That was the first TED Talk I ever saw, was by Brene Brown. Amazing. Dr. Brene Brown. So in going back to the conversation about healing, what are 3 barriers that you had faced when it came to healing?
I would say early on in my healing, it was finding the right therapist and the right mentorship. I had a college therapy experience that was very, it was very helpful at the time, in some ways and not in others. And when you only have one experience, it's hard to compare, right?
Yes.
It was hard in the beginning to know, like, okay, is it me, or am I just not clicking with this therapist, or are they just not meeting me where I'm at and what I need? Are they not skilled enough? Because I was in therapy with someone who was just not skilled enough, and it was no shade to her at all, but I don't think she had any post-grad trauma training, and that was huge.
Yes.
So finding the right mentorship, and alas, I finally did it. I've been with the same therapist for the last 8 years now, and it's been such a blessing, such a blessing.
Yes.
But really finding the right mentorship for you. That's why if your friend is like, oh my gosh, I love this therapist, you have to check her out. And if after a couple sessions, you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, it's okay to leave. Same with coaches, same with any mentors, any healer, any therapist. So finding the right mentorship. Another block to my healing, I would say the undoing of the blueprints was really hard. Being really mindful of, especially I'll give my own romantic relationship as an example. There were times when I want him to pick a fight. I wanted to instigate him. I wanted to piss him off. I wanted to go through the same old song and dance that I'm used to. I wanted to withhold. I wanted to punish, all silently, the old patterns. And it was such a conscious effort to say, no, Michelle, we don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore. And to that end, I also had to realize that, and something that was kind of was a block, I would actually say, was knowing that if I felt an emotion, I wasn't going to die, or it wasn't going to go on forever. I couldn't believe how afraid I was at first to feel, because I don't know what I thought. And I see this as a common theme with people, especially with grief, sadness.
Yes. This is going to be forever. I'm never going to get over this. Is this the rest of my life?
If I cry, I'm never going to stop crying. So I have to push it down. And it's just not true.
No.
Actually, you move through the feeling faster when you just feel it in a safe way.
Yes.
If you're angry, go lift weights at the gym. If you're sad, sit on the couch and just cry.
Yes.
If whatever it is, find the thing that helps you move through that emotion. I promise you, the more you feel it, the more safely
in safe spaces, safe containers, around safe people,
with techniques even at home that maybe your mentors have taught you, the more you can feel the emotion safely, the more it will pass.
Absolutely. You build up immunity to your emotions. When you feel them, you get used to it. And so the next time it comes around, it feels a lot more manageable.
Absolutely.
A lot less overwhelming.
The first time's usually the scariest, I would say.
Yes.
And then the third thing I would say is community.
Mm-hmm.
I felt very lonely doing this work at first. And it took me some time to find a community of like-minded people. Absolutely. And it was very lonely because the people who used to be able to turn to, they're like, what? Like once you start putting up boundaries with people, they're like, you've changed.
You've changed. You're being new. Like, oh, who are you? Like, are you being someone else? And it's like, yes, you can find yourself in spaces with people who can't understand your growth. They can't understand your journey, your vision, who you are. And that's okay. It's not for everyone to understand.
Yes, that was another thing as well. I wanted to always be understood. I wanted the people in my life who affected me to know and take responsibility for what they did. I wanted them to grow. I wanted them to change. They're entitled not to.
Yeah. People are entitled to stay stuck if they so choose to.
Yes. You can't change them. No, you can't hire a therapist to go to their house and force them to be in a therapy session.
Many have tried, as we see online, right? Many have tried to force change on people. It does not work.
Does not work. It does not work.
It doesn't work.
I had a potential client call me and say, like, can you just not say you're a therapist? Can you say you're like and it was for someone who definitely had a mental illness. So they were like, can you just say you're a coach? And I'm like, no, I can't. I absolutely cannot do that.
No, like what is this?
The person has a mental illness. They need a therapist.
Tell you, man. It could be a whole separate tangent because I will go down it. So, and I guess I asked this already, but sort of in a reframed way, what are 3 tips? What are 3 highlights that are important that you want to leave for listeners?
3 tips. I would say, number 1, community. Get in rooms, get in coffee shops, get in spaces with mentors and professionals. So people who have walked the path already, and professionals, people who have training in the thing that you need support with. And also get in the room with people who are like-minded or are a little bit further down the road than you are. I joined a women's group of amazing women who are doing this work and healing, and it has never felt more at home. It feels like I am with my people who see me, who get me, who understand me. And, as a projector, that's really important.
Yes.
So I was
just thinking that in my head, like, projectors.
Yes. Tip number 2, your journey is your journey. And there is a million ways to be happy. What matters is your way. So if you see the person next to you who's living their life as a digital nomad and you think that that's what happiness and freedom is, this is not true. For some people, freedom and happiness is attending every single one of their kids' soccer games. That's their freedom and that's their happiness. For other people, maybe it is van life. And for other people, maybe it's just being able to pay their bills.
Do it.
My tip for you would be to get in touch and know your version of happiness, and you'll know when it's yours, when you feel lit up, when you feel inspired, when you feel like there's a fire in your belly, when you feel
Yes.
energized, when you feel like you can do anything. The exact opposite of feeling exhausted and drained. I
Yes.
promise you, that's not life. That's like not normal. We've normalized being exhausted. It's like, who
And
can
being
be
in
more tired?
pain. Who can be more tired? Who can have more scars? Who can add more traumas? That is what our life is about now. It's about who has the worst trauma. I'm like, I don't want to start off introducing you with my trauma. I don't
No.
want to put you, hi, my name is JW. I have these amount of traumas. Like, that's what mental health therapy is about. I see it. It's like, well, start off doing a case presentation. It's like, list all their traumas. And it's like, what? Well,
Yep.
I go back to my first
Love
episode
that.
of do what lights you up. If you want to know what is for you, it's the thing that lights you up.
The energize. That's like the best way I could describe it. What
Yes.
lights you up, what puts a fire in your belly, what energizes you, what makes you feel like you had 5 cups of coffee.
Yes. Without having any.
Without having any. That's the best way I can describe it. Because like people have asked, like, how do I know if this is the thing? I can't tell. That's the best way I could describe it. When we say what lights you up, what makes you feel like you have 5 cups of coffee when you didn't have any. So finding your version of happiness. That's my second tip.
I love it. I love it.
And not judging it.
Yeah. Don't judge it. It's for you.
Absolutely. And I would say number 3, doesn't all have to be so serious.
No. No.
I really encourage balance. Like if you are doing really deep inner work, trauma work, I really encourage you for every like really hard thing you have to go through, balance it out with a fun thing on the other side of the spectrum.
Yes.
So like I had a friend who a friend of a friend, he was going through a really awful divorce and it was so brutal for him. And every week he rented a jet ski and went jet skiing. And it was expensive, but he said it was an investment in his happiness because he needed to counterbalance the intensity of the trauma and the feelings and the emotions of going through that divorce with something on the other side of it that was joyful, that was exciting, that was pleasurable. And I feel like this isn't really being spoken enough in the
No.
healing world, where it's just like do the work, and it's like, wow, the work is exhausting.
It's
Can
exhausting.
can we heal through pleasure? Can we heal through joy? Can we also heal through play? Hello, projectors, I'm talking to you.
Hello. Like, it's so funny because someone asked me over the weekend, they were like, do you laugh with your clients? I'm like, all the
All
time.
the
Like,
time.
I'm
Are
like,
you kidding
what
me?
do people think? I'm like, let's break these normatives of what you think is happening from TV sitcoms or like, we laugh, we cry, we have all of it. But what you said just now resonates so much because I've been on this experience of talking about investing in you. When people say, why would people want to pay for coaching or therapy out of pocket? It's because you are committing to invest in you. It's a whole level of it's like an accountability buddy that is literally trained to help you heal.
It's worth its weight in gold.
It's worth it.
And at first, trust me, I was on the journey. I'm like, I have good insurance. I'm not paying out of pocket for a therapist. What? I had no out of network benefits. I'm like, I'm not
Yes.
doing that until I opened my heart and my mind to doing it. And I
Yes.
saw the difference.
Very
What it
much.
what it means to have someone who is trained and is capable of supporting you in the way you desire to be supported. It's worth
Yes.
its weight in gold. Happiness is worth its weight in gold. And I promise you, when you prioritize that investment, you're doing the homework.
You're doing it.
You're doing it. You're implementing it. When it's a $10 copay, it might be a little bit more out the window.
Yes. And I attest to that, right? I would go to my therapy sessions. I'd be like, I'm here because I didn't want to pay the cancellation fee. And I also just, like, I didn't want to pay the cancellation fee. And my therapist was like, let's talk about that. And I'm right, of course, therapy. I was like, because it's $10, I can lose that, right? 150, right? We wonder why. Don't get in a tangent. Yeah. Anywho, Michelle, where can listeners find you and where can they follow you?
God, I adore you. You can find me on Instagram. I am that Millennial Therapist, and Millennial has 2 L's and 2 N's.
Yes, it does.
You can find me on TikTok. I'm that Millennial Therapy on TikTok. You can send me an email. I'm Michelle at thatmillennialtherapist.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm starting to post content on LinkedIn as well, so you can follow me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. I cannot wait to continue to see all that you are giving to the world. And I cannot wait to see you continue to shine. Do what lights you up.
Totally. Likewise, JW. Thank you so much. Do what energizes you. Makes you feel like you had 5 cups of coffee. Thank you.
Thank you.